I'm very excited to be talking to you. This is my first interview of the year, and I'm talking to you. You know, when you hear of banking, and of course, we've seen a lot of leaders in the Indian banking space, but talking to you, you're the Chief Marketing Officer at Yes Bank, is a privilege. And I'm excited because still in senior roles and CXO roles, we still have very, very few women. And then I'll come to some of the questions I have for you. But most importantly, I want to ask is that with the pandemic and the government's effort in minimizing the whole impact that we are seeing, there's been social distancing, there's been work from home, lockdown, so many things happening, so many restrictions. Do you see the consumer behavior, consumer psyche change because of all the things that we've experienced in the last last so many months?
Thank you so much, Shraddha, for having me join your show. And it's a real privilege to interact with you. To the point of discussion that, that whether we've really seen any shift in consumer behavior. So I'd like to really share my thoughts and say that, in my view, I feel that we've seen a paradigm shift in the way we conduct our lives, the way we go about, living our daily lives. And largely as consumers, this paradigm shift has got us to adjust to a new normal, whether it's been about ambiguity in the initial stages, whether it's been about the evolving needs that we've had through the past few months, or whether it has been about newer opportunities from a business and a professional lens. We've had to respond to all of these with a lot of agility. And if we actually look at that, there's actually been a large shift in the psychological and the social construct in the last few months. And it is almost like changes that don't have happen in a decade have, there's been clear disruption, and we've seen those shifts. I'd like to really talk about two shifts from my view, which I think, play an underlying role in the larger shifts in consumer behavior. So for one, I feel that we've had to, as humans, recalibrate our relationship and our sense of interconnectedness, right?
Yeah.
Both at many levels, and it's not at just an individual level. So when we are talking about recalibration of interconnectedness, look at it at a family level, look at it at a community level, look at it at a human race level, and also at a planet level. There have been so many multiple insights at varied levels that individuals have had during this phase. As a result of that, we've seen remarkable shifts.
Yeah.
The second point that I think is absolutely critical, and one needs to, give it its due, is that the dominant emotion in all these months has been anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. And anxiety at really two levels, broadly we look at it. For many, it's been at the financial and economical level for the uncertainties that have come along with the pandemic, and also at an emotional level. So all that one has had to do is, in order to move forward, to have enough resolve and to be resilient and keep moving, to keep going. Right. So these two factors, if we really look at it, they've resulted in many changes in consumer behavior. And the one of the largest shifts that we've seen, earlier consumerism was a religion, almost like a religion for us, right? And now what we see is that there's a clear shift to rational purchases. So people want to buy things that they need rather than things that they really want. So in a sense, the inherent demand for the wants has declined because of these underlying factors. The second big shift we've seen is that there's been, a flight to digital platforms in terms of consumption, whether it is entertainment, whether it is education, all of that. And so there is a overall preference for all things digital that has got built over this period of time.
Yeah.
And so if you see whether it is, of course, a lot of it was led by the compulsions, but it was soon it became choice, just for the simple reason of keeping yourselves as humans, consumers, safe. So that has also caused a lot of shift. So from what do brands do, when consumers have really, so for us, it's been definitely a challenging phase. So brands have to had to step in, adjust to the new consumer habits that were constantly evolving and still are, and, provide the right solutions with the right agility. And what is most important is, given that there is a lot of emotion, with the right empathy,
Yeah,
right degree of empathy at the
yeah.
right time.
How are you now navigating or uh, looking at this space and engaging with the consumers? Is there something new, different you're doing? And what are some of those different things that you're doing with the changing consumer behavior?
So, these times have definitely been very challenging, but alongside they've been very exciting, because what we've really had to do, we've had to evolve the marketing playbook,
Hmm.
you know, and at all levels. So essentially, what has happened that the consumer moved to the digital arena. That became
Yeah,
the new playground,
yeah,
right? And we've had to, as marketeers, we've had to, pick up on the threads of the, agile marketing, and leverage, whatever is possible to actually play. Basically, the changed arena was the digital arena. So play in the digital arena with the evolving consumer needs. So for one, what we did as an outcome of this is we built multiple consumer journeys during this phase, and consumer journeys which were, of course, at the intersection of, being profitable for the organization, but for foremost being convenient to the customer, right? So being a bank, it was a lot of it was about contactless banking. A lot of it was about how do you allow consumers to, use their payment methods, convert into investments, multiple journeys across the entire banking domain to simplify, put customer convenience forward, and simplify their experience in a personalized manner. So
yeah,
personalization also became very key, and all of this. So we had to leverage all the marketing technology tools available to us. Data was the enabler to actually running all of these. So it was a whole new playground for us, which we adapted with agility. And whilst utilizing all these tools, one must also realize, for example, experiential marketing was really big. We were used to on ground events to provide experience to
yeah,
consumers. Everything moved online, and it is tricky, very tricky, no matter how evolved the platforms are, that how do you actually engage with the consumer, because the consumer is also distracted.
yeah,
So there were multiple, levels that one looked at how to rework this entire piece. So marketing technology and data played a very key role in us being agile and adapting to the new methods. However, these were enablers. What was very important to us was also how do you actually communicate and build the connection with the customer and the consumer. So, I'll briefly talk about the journey that we really embarked on. So, we started out when there was lockdown and the mood, there was total disruption and people were dealing with the ambiguity. So, we started out with a thematic campaign calling out to people to really think new. So, we
hmm,
titled the theme really Kuch Naya Socho. We knew
hmm,
businesses were disrupted. People were uncomfortable, just, not knowing what is coming next, being in their homes. How, if people had, there was this whole balance. People wanted to know how they can drive between life and livelihood, being safe and their livelihood. So we nudged them to think new, to think of how they could balance their livelihoods by actually pressing refresh, going to the next level, all of that. From there on, we moved to actually talking about Zimmedari Se Tayari, which was essentially in the unlock phase, where we wanted the consumers to come out, right? As a nation, we had to, build momentum in the economic activity, yet be safe.
yeah,
So it was very important that anybody who is stepping out of their house follows the norms, the social norms that are put out by the government, the safety measures, all of that, right? So, and also responsible at an individual level and at a community level, right? So that they are not being the spreaders.
yeah,
And plus, what we also did is we put out certain solutions there which were, where the businesses could list themselves. We put out solutions where really connecting, listed down about 1,000 partners, local partners under a Go Yes for Local initiative, where you could do local purchases. So, business enablers like this, which also echoed our readiness as a bank to walk responsibly with the consumer as a brand.
Yeah.
So this was important. Then came festive season. So we said that, okay, we take this responsibility, to be responsible for yourself and your community and to walk responsibly forward. And we coined a theme which was around, खुशियों की करे जिम्मेदारी से तैयारी. So essentially, India has been a country where most of our celebrations, happiness, family gatherings, purchase decisions, all of that is around festivals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this year there was a very sullen mood around festivals. Of course, we did not want consumers to, just step out and overspend, because that is not something that anybody is subscribing to, or we don't want to nudge. But we wanted them to be responsible for their happiness.
Yeah.
So we put communication out there, which was highly empathetic, nudging them to be responsible for their happiness and the happiness of their loved ones and the community in a responsible way through engaging in very meaningful, joyful activities. And I think this was very important, because the role as marketers has been how to empathetically walk with the consumer rather than overwhelm the consumer in this stage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's been a very humbling journey. There's been a lot of learning for us, for the entire team. I think there's been learning for everybody, for all of us as a human race. One special aspect I'd like to touch upon here is, we also did a lot of internal campaigns in this time to, of course, keep the momentum going, to cater to the sentiments of employees. Also to tap in was that we've continuously run activities in the zone of joy of giving. So essentially how you can, leveraging on the interconnectedness at a collective level, and how if giving gives you joy, how to, sort of accept that and be a pillar to someone, or just a lending hand. So we tied up with multiple partners on the corporate social responsibility front. And we did activities like with, old age homes, where we lent an ear, essentially gave our time to listen to them. Yeah.
Wow.
We did some entertainment activities, play and Takshari with, people who were in old age homes, were not able to see people. They were even more threatened to walk out because of the dangers of the pandemic. Yeah. Exposure to pandemic. And we did multiple other things around, Christmas. So again, linked to joy of giving, if you would want to, give your time or give a little gift, a small gesture to somebody who is really not looking out, but who would feel comforted in human interaction. And the response we got from employees, was very overwhelming, not in terms just numbers, but in terms of sentiment. So when as a marketer you're able to connect that emotional with that emotional chord, so it is very rewarding and very gratifying at that stage. So these are, multiple evolutions that we have seen in terms of human behavior, and as marketers you have to always respond to that very quickly in an agile fashion, using all tools available to you. So this is just a bit of how we really went about it at Yes Bank.
Yeah, it's not the technology or the solutions that drives, it's the people. And I see that here in your role, you are driving changes within and outside for the consumers. If I say, if you had to anchor deep within and say, what is it that drives you and drove you during this time? What would you say?
This has been an interesting time at many levels, with all the challenges that it brought with it. And one of the things, so it's been a very reflective mode for a lot of people. You have internalized a lot of things and all of that. So for me, one of the things really is that I have always believed that I have a very special relationship with the earth. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
With the planet. And this realization actually dawned on me way earlier in life, essentially when I became a mother a couple of years back. When you sometimes take a pause and you reflect upon things, much like we did in the pandemic. And since then I changed, sort of my lifestyle, and moved towards sustainable living and mindful living. So when
Wow.
you are actually living, in a mindful, when your mantra and your life philosophy is mindful living, right? So all your lifestyle choices, all your priorities are sort of governed by that, right? So I think in this mode, what in this during this period, what I've done further is, really sort of internalized this further, and also realized that this is time, and I see around me that people have also internalized this a lot. So for example, when I look at this whole concept of mindful living, I actually see it and view it in the construct of karma and dharma.
Mm.
Yeah. So dharma really, like we all are believers, right? Whether it is religion or not, but we do believe in something or the other, right?
Yeah.
And when we go
Yeah.
back to ancient civilizations across geographies, and we observe that every civilization has had huge elements of nature worship,
Yeah.
right? Festivities, celebrations, a lot of meaningful activities for multiple civilizations were all centered around, something to do with nature. But when we
Yeah.
look at the dharma of today, the planet is missing, right? Secondly, now if we move to karma, okay, we are all, I mean, there are enough people who actually believe, who are believers of karma, right? We talk about it day in and day out. Lot of people, it has a lot of subscribers. When we look at karma, we look at karma more in context of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is definitely a lot of people who subscribe to karma, and we talk about good deeds, that everything is, it is structured around people. However, if we were to include the planet and all other living things on the planet in it would be redefining our karma, and this would definitely lead to the human race to be, more safe, feel less threatened. Today we are collectively, in the pandemic, as a human race, we are threatened by what has come about, because we have messed with the regular way of living, you
Yeah.
know and I think so, I think both in the construct of karma and dharma, it's important to get the planet in and see how life would change for us as a human race. We'd feel safer. And what I have also observed is that this internalization of this concept of sustainable living, being more responsible for your own consumption, has actually got a lot of people thinking during this pandemic, because people have had the time to internalize.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has been one of the positive outcomes. I mean, it's very difficult to say in a time, and we are still in the middle of a pandemic, to say positive outcomes, but I say that when thought process evolves, actions will follow.
I alluded to this in the beginning of the interview that as a woman, we have very few women leaders in the role, in the position that you are in. What does that mean? And how, what has that pandemic, has there been anything different during the pandemic? And what would you like to tell so many women out there? Like today, they are, and I meet a lot of young girls and a lot of women who want to get into the CXO in the top leadership roles, but it's still not there. And you and I know that women in workforce in India is only going down. But if you had to say to the young girls, to the women, and the leaders in general, what would you say? And if we could pick something from your playbook, what would that be?
So, for one, I actually feel that leadership should be seen as gender agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, there may definitely be certain traits that, leaders of one gender demonstrate more than the other. But I definitely don't think we should stereotype leadership at all. Yeah. And the biggest challenge lies in the stereotyping. So I so that is the that is the lens that we have to view it from. So a leader is a leader, period. That is where it stops. We should not view leaders with from a gender lens at all. In fact, that is not the way we should even view our teams, and we must just extend it to larger life. Since we are talking in context of leadership, that's how I mentioned. As per my views on leadership, I really feel that one quality that really trumps any other is compassion.
Yeah.
So if you are a compassionate person, right, you will view the moment, the opportunities, the people, your ability to get people together, all of that is just comes very inherently to you. You don't have to really make too much effort, go out of the way. You feel for people, so it comes from within. So that is
Yeah.
one quality I think that definitely a leader needs to have. And one thing that needs to be established, I think, at a very young age in working professionals, or rather, I would say, right from the students, right from when, we are kids, really, is that leadership is not a rank.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for a position to be a leader.
Yeah.
It
That's a
is
good
really
one.
an inherent quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. That helps you, go about things and, progress in your life and
Yeah.
achieve what your asks are in context of what the larger goals of society and the influence of those may be on your mind. And I, as an individual, I actually subscribe to Simon Sinek's, views on leadership. What he really says, I'll share very briefly. He says that trust is very key in leadership. So if you are able to trust the people you work with, whether it is your teams, whether it is your peers, whether it is people who are leaders to you or mentors to you, trust is very key. People need to feel safe with you. So the moment your teams are feeling safe and they don't have to look over their backs and watch out for themselves, there is a collective spirit that gets kindled,
Yeah.
right? And you you feel encouraged. You're not watching over your back all the time, and that's a very positive culture to breed. And and productivity also gets enhanced. So this, in a nutshell, is what really, I've oversimplified it, but this is really the crux of what Simon Sinek has put out there, and I think that really works. Um, when it comes to in my life experience, the other thing that I have seen and observed is that when individuals are exposed to sport, whether
Hmm.
both individual sport and team sport, right, the learnings are so immense there. It actually builds your personality. You get wired in a different way. So that becomes one of the initial lessons on leadership, team
Yeah.
spirit, performance, how to amalgamate, how to flow with a common goal. So I think exposure at a young age to sport is very important for all individuals. Calling out to other women who want to actually progress in their professional lives, I would just say that don't let your thought process be a barrier. Don't get gender in the way of anything. Your aspirations, your ambitions, your growth, your interactions, none of it. Because the moment you start thinking, I'm a woman and will I get the seat on the table, I'm a woman, this is a deterrent, you're already taking the first step with the bias. And then that becomes an inherent bias. You take it as a level playing field and see how you will blossom.
This is so
So that is
inspiring.
my.
Honestly, I have to ask you this question. Did you play sports as a kid, or do you play sports now?
So I actually have continued to play sports through my life, both individual sport and collective, team sports. And I do see a lot of learning, from that. And I've observed also differences between people who have not indulged in any sport. So there are, so, like they say that nurturing also helps build a lot of qualities. So it's that important aspect of nurturing. Do I continue to play sport? I did till the pandemic hit. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to it soon.
Last, I would like to ask you this year, 2021, is there, is there something that you are saying that, hey, this is something that we'll focus on as maybe in your role or maybe as an individual? You're saying, okay, this is uh, something we'll do in 2021.
So, of course, there are professional goals, right? There are, given the position that one holds in professional life, there are definitely goals that one is talking about, being more empathetic, building a deeper connect with consumer, right, is definitely
Yeah.
one of them. And using marketing technology to take things to the next level. It may require a lot of innovative thinking, challenging boundaries. So that is the zone that we are really operating in, to actually solve for the evolving consumer needs, because I think from here the consumer needs are going to be constantly evolving, right?
Yeah.
We are still in a bit of ambiguous times, right? Nothing has really changed much from when we went into
Lockdown.
lockdown, right? We have, besides us definitely building our mental muscle and all of that, and the various learnings that we have had, right? At a personal level, I feel that one thing that I definitely want to take forward is, socialize the sustainable living and the mindfulness concept to a wider audience. So whenever I get an opportunity, I definitely tap into that, and because it gives me immense gratification.